At long last, the Black Widow solo movie has arrived, and Natasha Romanoff is getting her time in the spotlight. In addition to potentially laying the groundwork for future stories, the prequel also offers a few sly winks at the MCU and Marvel Comics. Here are some Easter eggs you missed in Black Widow. When Black Widow moves to its present-day timeline of 2016, our title hero is on the run from probably the busiest Secretary of State in U.S. history, retired General Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, who's convinced he's got her pinned down. Natasha calls Ross on his cell, warning him not to embarrass himself. It turns out that she's on a ferry in Norway, which at best puts Ross 6 time zones and a continent away. As Nat settles into her new home, courtesy of her ally and supplier Mason, she cracks a Norwegian beer and settles in to watch Roger Moore do his thing as Agent 007. Apparently, she's a big enough James Bond fan to quote the film line by line. This Easter egg comes in the form of her movie of choice, which Bond superfans will instantly recognize as Moonraker. There are some obvious parallels between Moonraker and Black Widow. Both films feature an evil megalomaniac bent on world domination, pulling strings from a remote base in the sky, a space station for Moonraker antagonist Hugo Drax, and the hovering Red Room installation of Black Widow Big Bad Dreykov. Both primary antagonists also have a strong and silent heavy, Drax's chief henchman Jaws and Dreykov's daughter-turned-puppet Antonia, aka Taskmaster, who only speaks once after their loyalty shifts. When his sleeper cell/family escapes the United States to Cuba, Alexei is thrilled. After all, he was the Red Guardian, the Soviet Union's first and only super soldier. He had no business flying under the radar in the American Midwest, stealing secrets. He belongs on the battlefront.
Still fits.
When Natasha and Yelena rescue him from prison, he describes their time as a faux family as tedious and boring, for which he tells an obviously upset Yelena he means no offense in deriding the only family she had ever known. As the movie goes on, Alexei's affections for his fake daughters come out from behind the gruff and rigid exterior he shows the world. But viewers paying close attention to his tattoos could have reached that conclusion much sooner. Those 2 roses on his bicep, one of which appears to have a drop of blood or tear falling from it, it just so happens that the names on the ribbon translate to Natasha and Yelena. As Natasha and Yelena are flying in to free Alexei, their tablet showing the facility's layout gives away his location, 7th Circle Prison. Fans of certain Marvel Comics properties will know that there's an 8-issue run of the Daredevil Punisher team-up series called 7th Circle. But even though the Black Widow has been associated with both of those characters previously, it's unlikely that's the intended reference. It seems much more likely that it's a reference to Dante's Divine Comedy, more specifically Inferno. In Dante's 14th century poem, the 7th Circle of Hell is where sinners who've committed violence are tortured by centaurs and harpies. Fans of classical Greek mythology may recall harpies, loathsome screeching creatures with the head of a woman and the body of a great bird, harassed Aeneas in Virgil's epic poem, the Aeneid, spoiling his crew's food so they could not eat. That sure sounds like a certain pair of prison guards who've stolen the baked goods Alexei's fans have sent him. Before his liberation from the 7th Circle prison, Alexei regales his fellow inmates with the tales of his glory days as the Red Guardian, Marvel Comics' Soviet-Russian foil to Captain America, as he nonchalantly takes on all comers in arm wrestling. It's clearly a tale they've heard before, but one prisoner, credited as muscular gulag inmate to avoid spoilers, doesn't buy Alexei's story, pointing out that Captain America was still frozen when the story supposedly took place. Alexei isn't amused, asking, "Are you calling me a liar, Ursa?" before slamming the man's arm to the table, breaking it. "Look at the big bear," he says mockingly. "It looks like we just met Mikhail Ursus, aka Ursa Major, a Soviet mutant who is able to transform into a brown bear." It's not the last time Alexei's heyday is mocked. At Melina's farm, he tries to comfort Yelena only to have his concern rebuffed. She says, "The only thing you care about is your stupid glory days as the Crimson Dynamo, and no one wants to hear about it." It appears to be meant as an insult, with Yelena either mocking his former codename or actually forgetting it, which Alexei corrects. But Yelena has actually invoked yet another Russian Marvel character, one we're unlikely to see in the MCU in a version faithful to the source material. Why? Crimson Dynamo was the name Anton Vanko, father to Iron Man 2 villain Ivan Vanko, aka Whiplash, took when wearing his own powered armor. As Yelena and Natasha are holed up in the rafters of a Hungarian subway station, the two discuss the latter's previous time hiding out in Budapest. Nat's already made a reference to Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, in telling Yelena that the holes in the safe house walls were made by arrows, not bullets. She then reveals that she and Barton spent 2 days hiding out there previously, at which point the camera shows a series of games played on a ventilation duct. There are a few games of tic-tac-toe and a game of hangman, which someone seems to have lost. It seems to pretty clearly spell butterfly, but it wouldn't make for much of an Easter egg if it was that straightforward. These insects have been cropping up in the MCU, with the butterflies in WandaVision being the most recent example. Perhaps the most direct connection is to Layla Miller, aka Butterfly, a Marvel Comics mutant with a broad range of abilities. One of her powers is the ability to reanimate living things, but without restoring their souls. It's an intriguing reference, given the exchange on Vormir in Endgame, in which Natasha traded her life to get Clint the Soul Stone. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Looper videos about Black Widow are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.